The thing is, nobody ever talks about how this could kill your chicken. Hey there, my name's Emily Myrick from the blog marriedmyrick.com, and every Wednesday I upload a new video on attainable homemaking for busy working women. Okay, today I am going into some tips on how to make sure that your little baby chicks stay healthy and grow strong in your brooder as you're getting them ready to transition into the coop. So when they are such a tiny little young bird, they are so adorable. They are just so cute. I absolutely loved when our little babies were tiny. It doesn't last very long, I will tell you that. But there also are some precautions that you need to take as a new chicken mama or chicken daddy to take care of your little ones to make sure that they survive and grow healthy and strong. Okay, so you probably know some of the basics about how to make sure that they always have fresh, clean water and food available to them, and that you have the temperature at the right setting for them, whether you are using a heat lamp or something like that to keep them warm but not too hot, and to make sure that you kind of regulate that based off of how old your bird is and the temperature outside. So we have hung our heat lamps on wires in the shed so that we can adjust the height to help adjust the temperature, because the weather in Southwest Missouri has been absolutely crazy this year, as always, and we've had like 80-degree days and then 30-degree days. So we want to make sure that we can regulate the temperature easily for our birds and not have them stress out. However, if your birds are stressed because of temperature changes, maybe they're not getting hydrated enough, or maybe they were really stressed out in transit to your brooder, they can get this thing called pasty butt. Now, pasty butt is just basically when your chicken has runny poop and then parts of it stick to its bottom, and then over time it builds up, and it can even block the vent where the poop comes out, and make the bird not be able to go to the bathroom at all. And this can kill your bird if it can't go to the bathroom because of pasty butt. So we actually had a little chick who had pasty butt, just one, and she had that a little bit the first day we had her, and I just kind of kept my eye on it thinking that it would go away. Luckily it was not too close to her vent, so she could still go to the bathroom. She was still healthy, everything else was fine. I also gave her electrolytes in her water so she would stay hydrated, and overall she seemed really healthy, but it just never really went away. And then I learned that pasty butt just doesn't really go away on its own. You do have to intervene to protect your chick and their health. So a lot of articles and tutorials that I read and watched online say to soak the baby bird either with a towel or under running water if it's really bad, to just loosen that poop that has stuck to their butt off of them. And the really crucial thing is to not pull that off, because you can rip their skin and it's very uncomfortable for them. However, in my situation, it probably because I waited too long, it was just really difficult, and it was kind of cold, so I didn't want to risk her health further by making her cold, because it was taking me forever and my warm towel that I was using was not warm anymore, and so I didn't want her to get like soaking wet. So what I did, and I don't necessarily recommend this, this is just what I did for me, is I had a tiny little scissor that I use actually to shape my eyebrows. The funny thing is, a year ago, mine was taken in the Korean airport when we were coming back from our trip from Asia. So I lost it then, and now I lost it again this year to my chicken. So the blades on the scissor are so super tiny, and in my situation, it was the poop that was stuck to her butt was like far enough away from her skin, and she was staying still enough in my hand that I was able to snip it off. And I have never heard anybody to tell me to do that. However, I had a different situation because, like I said, it wasn't blocking her vent, but I wanted to make sure that she was going to stay healthy and comfortable and to get that off of there. And that was the best solution that I found for her. So yeah, like I said, I don't necessarily recommend, but the main thing is you don't want to cut them or pull off their skin or anything like that. But you do want to take action if you start to see pasty butt, because the problem will only get worse and won't go away, and it could potentially be life-threatening if it blocks their vent. Okay, guys. The last tip that I want to give to you is something that I have never seen online at all. I never heard anybody talking about this. In fact, in every YouTube video that I watch or blog that I read, I always see the little metal chicken feeders in with the baby chicks. So they come in a couple different varieties. You can get a round one. You can get the kind that you can screw a mason jar to and then just have it constantly be feeding your baby birds. You can get the long row chicken feeder. You can get it in plastic or aluminum, whatever. But the thing is, I don't think that these things are very safe for the baby birds because, well, for one, we've really struggled with them in the brooder to stay clean, because with our two tiniest birds, they did fine with the little round one because they didn't kick too many shavings into it. However, our guineas, they just made a huge mess out of them. And even our older pullets, they really kind of just would kick a lot of shavings in there, and so it was not very effective for them. The other thing is they just like poop right on it or in it, and it really, to me, is not that much more sanitary than just putting it on the ground in the brooder for them. Chickens like to peck things. I've seen YouTube videos where people are like, they're birds, I put their feet on the ground, and I'm kind of like, I agree with that. So I'm sure that there are some kind of chicken police out there saying like, don't do that because it's wrong for whatever reason, but our chicks do better with it. Now, in the brooder, they were just fine putting it on the ground for them. However, when we transitioned them to the coop, I was like, well, maybe we can give it a try, and I put it in a corner of the coop thinking like they won't be able to kick shavings in it, and it was just easily accessible, and I just thought like, oh, this is gonna be great. No. So the problem was, the first day that we had them in the coop, we were a little bit worried because they're still kind of young. They're mostly feathered out, but we were just kind of worried like, oh, we don't know how they're going to do in here. It's so much bigger than their brooder. And I checked on them in the middle of the night. They were doing just fine. And then my husband got home in the morning from work, and he heard them squawking like from outside when he parked his car, and was like, oh no, I need to go check on them. And you guys, one of our guineas actually got their head stuck in this feeder and was running all around the coop with this stuck to his head, with everybody else terrified, like perched wherever they could or hidden away. I was not there to see that, but my husband was like, they were all huddled together like, what is going on? And the poor guinea had her head stuck in here. We don't think that she was in there for very long because she did not have too much damage to her neck. However, it was kind of red and it was not bleeding, but it did look kind of cut up, and I think it did bleed a little bit before I got there. Well, anyway, my husband had to call me. I came outside with a towel. We wrapped her up in this towel, and I just held her and I just pet her to calm her down, and she stayed really, really still. And you guys, this was really terrible. We had to, with the wire snippers, my husband cut, as you can see, we were just like trying to figure out the best way to cut it. So we cut it in a couple spots, but ultimately her head was here, and we had to cut, well, actually her head was here, and we just cut around it to relieve the pressure, but ultimately we had to cut right on top of here, and her head was right here, you guys. So it was really, really scary because I really did not want her to get cut with the wire snippers. Now, like I said, luckily we were able to get her out of there without any further damage, and she didn't even freak out when we were trying to bend the feeder to get her head out of it, but it was very scary, and I had never heard anybody talk about how the chicken can get their head stuck in the chicken feeder. And I've seen so many videos with both adult chickens and baby chickens using this chicken feeder. So I'm just gonna throw it out there and say, from week 4 on, don't use this little chicken feeder anymore, because they can get their head stuck in it. I guess when they're adults, they can not get their head stuck in it anymore because their head is too big for the hole. But when they're at that kind of teenage stage, or not even at the teenage stage, but when they're in that kind of awkward toddler stage, I don't know, whatever, they can get their head stuck in there and then not be able to get it out. And yeah, like I said, I've never heard of anybody else saying that, so I wanted to make sure that you guys knew this, to keep your chickens safe and healthy and avoid the trauma that our poor guinea went through. However, on the bright side, she is doing well, and I think all of the birds like us more because they realize like that we saved their friend. So I think that the guineas are not quite as flighty, especially with my husband for whatever reason. I guess he saved her first. But they really have just kind of bonded with us more. So I think it's been overall a positive outcome from a negative experience for our poor guinea, and the poor chickens who are also traumatized. But anyway, I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew about this tip. And if you want to learn more about how to take care of your baby chicks and everything that you need to keep them healthy, visit this blog post, and I have all of the details for what we used for her baby chicks in that blog post, with links to purchase the products on Amazon if that's super convenient for you. Otherwise, a lot of those products are available at your farm stores too. All right, guys, I'll see you next Wednesday. Keep your chickens safe.